What's going on, guys? Cody Marchand here from HydeAndZeke.com, and today we're going over the Week 6 first look here on Draftkings for the NFL. Before we do that, I just need to vent a little bit. Let's just take a look at Week 5 cash games, right? I pretty much only played head-to-heads, only played $300 worth. I have never lost so many matchups scoring 226 points in my entire life. Like, show me how at 226 points, I only profit $72 in cash. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, I understand that it was just like a nuts week, but how did everybody have like the same guys? In the Millie Maker, I'm pretty sure Will Fuller was 16% owned. In cash games against me, he was 96% owned. Like, everybody played Will Fuller against me. And yes, I had Christian McCaffrey, Will Fuller, and Michael Thomas combined for 150 points. Leonard Fournette was good. Yeah, I made two really bad plays with Javon Wims and Noah Fant. But it doesn't matter. Even if I got to Auden Tate instead of Javon Wims, which is what I was, debating between, would only put me up to 237. Still would have lost this guy. Still would have lost the same amount of cash games, because basically if I lost, I was playing against somebody that had over 250 points. So it's like, it's just a frustrating week when, like, all right, even if at the beginning when I was pretty much done, right, at the 1 o'clock games, because I only had Fournette and Fant left, and I had 210 points or something like that. I don't know exactly. I had like 208 points, right, at the 1 o'clock game. So my team was pretty much done. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I don't know how I'm only winning $120 or something like that. But at least I got Zeke and Noah Fant. Hopefully I can increase that. No, because somehow all the teams I was playing against didn't have Zeke, and they had Aaron Jones. So I lost even more matchups after the 4 o'clock games when Aaron Jones had like 55 points. So wicked strange week here on DraftKings. I just need to vent a little bit. 226 points, I only profit $72. Something's weird. So I don't know what we should have done better. Obviously, we shouldn't have played Javon Wims. We shouldn't have stacked him with Chase Daniel. Should have just stuck with Auden Tate like we had all week. No Fant didn't kill us. We had 226 points. It helped us get to other things. Patriots defense was one where we didn't love to get there. I don't remember what the Chargers had specifically, but I know that if I did take the Chargers defense, I would have got up to Darren Waller at tight end specifically. And, it only would have been a 6-point swing. So, and I might have scored 6 less points than the Patriots. So, I don't hate my lineup. I like my process. Zeke was obviously an awful game script for him. But, we pretty much smashed these 3 plays with Leonard Fournette, and that's all that we really needed to come out victorious. But we didn't do good enough. All right, had to get that off my chest. Let's dive into this week. Real quick, first thing that I see when I look at this week is the top of the slate. We have an absolute great game for fantasy purposes. We have a great game for actual NFL viewers. We got Patrick Mahomes taking on Deshaun Watson at home. Yes, we know that Patrick Mahomes looks a little bit banged up. That ankle kept getting rolled on last night, but it's Patrick Mahomes. He'll be fine. Deshaun Watson's coming off a 5-touchdown game. He's going against the Kansas City Chiefs that like to play a little bit faster. You have to put up some more points to stick with them. And, you don't really think that they're going to hand it to, like, Carlos Hyde 23 times that game, right? We hope not. But coming off a monster performance, he was one of my favorite plays of the week last week. As if you watch me on Instagram, my HydeAndZeke, I do my Instagram quick hit picks. I do 3 people that I really love for the week. I did Deshaun Watson, I did Michael Thomas, I did Ronald Jones. I don't know how Ronald Jones did because I heard nothing about him, but I assume that means he did awful. So I got 2 out of 3. But Deshaun Watson, 44 points yesterday, 426 yards, 5 touchdowns. Almost a perfect passer rating. I think it's like a little bit higher than this. I think it's 158.7. Not positive. But I think this is not a perfect passer rating, but pretty much. I know that I saw an Adam Schefter tweet that said basically he's the first player in NFL history to throw over 400 yards, 5 touchdowns, and have less than 5 incompletions, or 5 or less incompletions. So he just had a game. Obviously, we want to be attacking Atlanta as early and often as possible. His price is the exact same, and obviously not as good of a matchup, but pretty much, depending on game script, it could be a lot better. Lamar Jackson's still stuck at 6,900, which he still has that upside, but he's just been playing not his ceiling games lately. Passing the ball, he's been a lot worse than he was to start the season. 0 interceptions through 3 games and 5 in the last 2. Yes, we still like to see the 70 yards rushing, which helps, but he didn't lose a fumble. But he had 3 turnovers, only 161 passing yards and 1 passing touchdown, so that hurts. Whenever Lamar only has one touchdown, it's really going to be hard for him to hit value. Mahomes at 7,500. Like, this Houston team can easily be thrown on. As you can see, Matt Ryan just tore them up as well last week. And it's Patrick Mahomes. He's probably going to get Tyreek Hill back in this game. So there's a good chance that Patrick Mahomes is like solidly in play in cash, even though a lot of people like to avoid Patrick Mahomes in cash. Let me show you why we can get up to him. Most weeks, right, what do we normally do on defense? We plug in like a, $3,000, $2,700 defense, something like that. We'll plug in the Eagles, right? And then we say we plug in a $6,000 quarterback. We'll plug in Carson Wentz. We'll stack them. So the typical cash build that a lot of people like to go with, so they can get all their studs at running back and then their value at wide receiver, tight end, whatever, they go with like a 6K quarterback and a 3K defense. That's 9K combined, correct? But what if we switched up? What if we were like, okay, we'll go to Patrick Mahomes at 7,500, and then we'll go to my favorite play on the slate right now at the Jets defense at home against Dallas for 1,500. The two of them also combine for 9,000. So you have the same exact salary with Patrick Mahomes and the Jets defense as you do with Carson Wentz and the Eagles defense. And for me, I would rather have this all day, 10 times out of 10. One thing that I did notice this week that I did want to adjust real quick on DraftKings is the fact that before last week, I don't remember a time where I saw a defense under 2K, and we just saw the Redskins at 1,800 versus the Patriots, right? And I didn't know if that was going to be a trend or if that was kind of just a one-off thing. Redskins aren't good. The Patriots don't really turn the ball over. But then this week, you come in and you see, let me just exit this out so you can see it all on the layout. You see, let me scroll this up so my big head isn't in the way. You see that the Cardinals, the Bengals, and the Jets are three defenses all under 2K. And two of them are playing at home. And one of them's averaging almost 11 points a game playing against Dak, who just threw 3 interceptions, I'm pretty sure. So this, to me, is pretty clear. Like, why would I be spending 3K on defense when I can spend 1,500 on a very competent defense at home? I like it. They're most likely going to be getting Sam Darnold back. I said this last week, but it looks like he's a lot closer to be playing now. And at 1,500 in a game script where, Dallas is going to do all right. I'm just not super worried about them. I think that it's pretty easy to get Dak to turn over the ball. Their receivers, Amari Cooper, I think, had 2 go through his chest that turned into turnovers. So definitely at 1,500. It's just interesting play now that we have options of like 1,500 defense, 3,000 defense, and 4,500 defense. So it actually adds skill to the game, in my opinion. It lets you do a lot more with your lineup if that's what you choose to do. And I think it's a smart decision by DraftKings to get there. So that's all I really wanted to say about our boy Patty Mahomes and why I think he's in play this week because of this defensive move by DraftKings. Russell Wilson's been a baller, just absolutely one of his best seasons as far as fantasy already. Yes, he had this blip against Arizona where everyone played him. But besides that, and week 1, he did better. So it's weird because the two best matchups it looks like for him, Cincy and Arizona, he's put up the least amount of fantasy points. And he plays at Pittsburgh, at home against New Orleans, at home against the Rams, and he puts up 28 plus in all those. So he's tough to trust at 6,600. I'm probably not going to get there, but it's just something to keep in play against Baker Mayfield company, especially if they might be without Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams again, who are out tonight right now. It's only Monday morning that I'm doing this video, so the Browns play tonight versus the 49ers. And we already have word that Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams are out, both starting corners. And we don't know what they're going to be like for next week. Maybe it's something super serious. They miss another week. So Russell Wilson is more likely to be played. Kyler Murray, great matchup against ATL. We just saw what Deshaun Watson did. And don't think I just said ATL because I don't know who they're playing. I thought it was cool to say it like that. But Kyler Murray at 6,500 is getting the Falcons, right? Coming off a game where they just got torched by Deshaun Watson. Pretty similar styles, but obviously Kyler Murray at this point in his career is not Deshaun Watson with his arm. He can probably do exactly what Deshaun Watson does with his legs. Probably does it more. Look, 10 for 93. But we can't just say, oh, well, Deshaun Watson put up 44, so Kyler Murray's going to put up 44. Kyler Murray doesn't have DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller on his team. He's got his boy Larry Fitzgerald, but not really a huge big play team when it comes to explosive wide receivers that run 4-3s or whatever. So Kyler Murray has a pretty high floor in this game, but at 6,500, I'm probably spending the extra 1,000 to get to Mahomes. I'm probably spending the extra 200 to get to Deshaun. I will not have a lot of Kyler Murray just because of these two guys playing at similar price points. Dak Prescott will not be playing them because I really do want to get to the Jets defense this week, I think. Jared Goff at home against the 49ers, which seems like a pretty alright pass defense so far. But we know that Jared Goff's a much better quarterback at home for fantasy purposes. Carson Wentz, I don't really want to play people against the Vikings. Jimmy G, not enough fantasy goodness yet. Baker Mayfield at 5,500. We're finally seeing a pretty decent price for Baker, but he hasn't even hit 20 points yet this year in fantasy. So it's important to see what he does tonight versus the 49ers. I think that he probably has a good chance to start turning around the season fantasy-wise, but we'll see. We do like the price coming down a little bit. Andy Dalton, Teddy Bridgewater, at Baltimore, at Jacksonville, no thank you. Kirk Cousins at home against the Eagles. Okay, guys, this is a really good spot. 5,200 against the Eagles. Eagles are awful against the pass, and they're great against the run. So hopefully this is one of those games where Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs get a lot more involved. 5,200. He's coming off his best game of the season by far, 23 points. He only passed the ball 27 attempts still, but it's just he had a great matchup, so he was just completing everything, 81% of his passes. Hit that 300-yard bonus. So 5,200, this is a great option, cheap. I think it's going to be pretty highly owned just because the matchup is so juicy. Gardner Minshew at home against New Orleans. That's fine, actually, at 5K. It's definitely something that's in play. Yeah, coming off a 27-point game, that's definitely in play for me. Good, tough matchup. People, it looks like, first thing first, you see 30th in opposing rank. But the thing is that New Orleans is a great defense. They rush the passer really well. It's just that they get up sometimes and, they give up more pass plays, give us some more yards. Haskins, we don't know who's starting this week. We do know, breaking news, that Jay Gruden has been fired for the Washington Redskins. I forget who they said was taking over. I wonder if I click into his news. Yep, right here. Let's see who's the interim coach. Something Callahan, right? We'll work with interim head coach Bill Callahan. Cool. So they have interim head coach. One thing that we do know about Bill Callahan is he said that he's never been a part of a team that has run the ball so little in his NFL career so far. He does say that he wants to get back to running the ball. We don't know what it's going to be like this week. We don't know who's going to be his quarterback, who he likes. Most likely he's going to be playing Haskins just because he wants to be getting a job with this team. It's not like he has to be in win now mode, right? Because they're not in win now mode. But he wants to appease the ownership. He wants to appease, GMs who, they invested in Dwayne Haskins. They want to see him out there. If they put him into a position to succeed, say Dwayne Haskins has a good end of the season, I think he has a better chance of being highly considered to get this job. So personally, I think that he will be rolling with Haskins. But like I said, it's a phenomenal matchup. But I think they want to be running the ball a lot. And it's an even better matchup for Adrian Peterson and company. So obviously I'm not going to be playing either of the quarterbacks in that game, even if I do get to throw in, Josh Rosen at 4,500 against this Washington team. It's just not viable, man. His best game is 10 points in fantasy. He's threw the ball 39 times 2 games ago, and he got 9 fantasy points. So yeah, it's a great price point, but I'm definitely going to spend 500 more to get to Minshew, or 700 more and get to Kirk Cousins. So let's plug in Kirk Cousins for now, see what that looks like. Obviously, I'm going to try to get to Deshaun Watson. I do think I like Watson a little bit more than Mahomes, giving an $800 discount, but that's only if I need it. So we'll see. We don't have CMC on the slate now that we're moving over to running back position. Actually, no, let's not move over to running back position. Let's move over to tight ends. We have Travis Kelce at the top at 7K. He just does not look like he's been worth that top price point so far this season. Zach Ertz coming off a solid game. Minnesota is directly in the middle of the pack at, 18th against the tight end position. George Kittle against the Rams. But here's where we want to be, right? Austin Hooper versus the Cardinals. The flow chart still works. I didn't play Tyler Eifert last week because I just think he's dust. I don't think Tyler Eifert's that good. I don't think that, he made it so that the trend is now broken. We can't play tight ends against the Cardinals. And Austin Hooper's a beast. I traded in my season-long league. I traded Austin Hooper. It's a super flex. So I traded Austin Hooper, Mason Rudolph, and Marvin Jones for George Kittle. And as soon as I trade Austin Hooper, he's been a baller. Obviously, I love George Kittle. I think it's a good trade for me. But Look at him, 24 points, 25 points, 13 points, and this is what matters. Averaging 9 targets a game in the last 3, 11 and 9, averaging 10 over the last 2 games. And this is the team that you want to play him against. Let me just go down the list, make sure there's nothing like glaring that like we need to do for value, but we love our boy Will Dissly. He's the man, Will Dill. Mark Andrews does look kind of banged up, but you know, he's just so talented. He can get it done at any time. Delaney Walker, 3,700. Gerald Everett at 3,600, right? Coming off a monster game. He's had 8 and 11 targets the last 2 games when they got down early. I'm not sure they're going to get down the same type of game script against the San Francisco 49ers. It's just they don't play as high of a pace as the other two teams that they've been playing against recently. But it is really, really important to know that as soon as Brandon Cooks went out, which he did with that head injury, I think, that he was even more involved. He was already involved pretty significantly early to start the game, but it was pretty cool to see how involved he got. So 3,600, I don't mind getting down to Gerald Everett if we need to, but it's a no-brainer for me this week. And I'm going to plug in Austin Hooper at 5K. Probably my lock so far. These two I'm going to pair in almost all my cash lineups as of Monday morning. Things change, but Austin Hooper and the Jets defense for 6,500 total. I'll take that. Now we'll go over running back position, talk about what I was just saying. We don't have what is the free space in CMC on the slate this week. I don't understand how he's not like 100% owned every week. The thing is, he is a RB1 mixed with a wide receiver 2. And he gets 8+ targets a game. He gets 15, which is on the way low end, plus carries per game. He gets you over 30 points. He has like a 25-point floor with, as you can see, like a 50+ point ceiling. And until he's at like 11,000, I think that he has to be in your lineups, and we don't have him on this main slate. So that's just one thing to talk about. Zeke had a pretty bad game script for him, but he still looked strong running the ball, 5 yards per carry, got in the end zone. Probably not going to be playing him against my defense. Dalvin Cook with a really tough matchup. Philadelphia's been really tough against the running back position. But he's just been so good. Look at this. This has been such a good season for him. Averaging 27 fantasy points a game. Another 130-yard day. And that's without a touchdown. He had 30 points. So it's nice to see this too. The 6 targets, 8 targets, 5 targets, 3, 4, 6, and 6 catches. So this is really good to see from Dalvin Cook. So even in a tough matchup, he is 100% more in play for me than Zeke is. Alvin Kamara against the Jacksonville Jaguars. We just saw what our boy CMC did against these guys. And I sound crazy after what we just saw, but to me, I think Alvin Kamara is a much more talented player in the NFL than Christian McCaffrey. I might get hate for that, but that's all right. That's my boy, Alvin Kamara. You know, only 16-point game without Drew Brees, 11 points before that without him, but, you know, he still has those games without Drew with 37 points, and it looks like Drew's getting ready to come back pretty soon. I think that they're going to win this game pretty handily, and I think that Alvin Kamara needs to be in play at 8K for one of your stud running back positions. David Johnson, what do we do against the Atlanta Falcons? We stream running backs, especially pass-catching backs. They like to funnel passes to their running back position. And look at our boy. Yeah, he only had 5 targets last week, but he had 11 before that, 9 the week before that, and he's had more receiving yards in almost every single game than rushing yards. Yes, this week he had more rushing yards, but I love David Johnson at 7,600. Everyone was on him this week against Cincinnati. I'll be the one on him this week, and I hope that he drops off in ownership from last week. And at 7,600, I love the discount from David Johnson from, like, you know, Zeke. Nick Chubb at 7,300. Seattle, it's an all right matchup, but I'm not going to attack that there with the, you know, pretty one-dimensional player that Nick Chubb is. Leonard Fournette's my boy. Played him in cash again this week. Had another 26 fantasy points. Tough matchup, though. New Orleans is really tough on the ground. Leonard Fournette. Oh, Mark Ingram in a great matchup against Cincinnati. We just saw David Johnson do very well against them. And he had 19 carries again. Not very efficient with it. Got in the end zone. 2 targets. It's just such a weird season for Mark Ingram. He's pretty boom or bust so far this year. It's actually a pretty good week to play him. I don't really love the price point. Lev Bell at 6,400. This is a no-brainer. Even without Sam Darnold, this is a no-brainer, guys. We just saw what Aaron Jones did to the Cowboys. Just dismantled them. And I'm a huge believer that Lev Bell is a much more talented player than Aaron Jones. And at $500 more at home, and a player that catches the ball a heck of a lot more, this is pretty easy for me. He had another, 22 touch game last week, 22 touch the week before, 31 the week before that, 23 the week before that. I'm locking in 20 to 25 plus touches in this game against the Dallas defense that just got shredded. At 6,400, give me Lev Bell. That's pretty easy. What else we got? Gurley, Derrick Henry, Chris Carson at Cleveland. I like Chris Carson a lot. He's been doing very well. But on the road, I don't know how much I love him against Cleveland. Damian Williams looked very involved in the pass game to start last night's game. Only ended up with 4 targets. The box score does not really tell the whole story. LaShawn McCoy, Joe Mixon, Phillip Lindsay. Phillip Lindsay ran very well. Very, very well. 15 carries for 114 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, that was a very big game from Lindsay. He just looked very explosive all night. He's been so up and down this season, though. Darrell will... Oh, let's talk about Adrian Peterson real quick. He's going to be getting the best matchup in the league, right? Against Washington. Nope, he's on Washington. Against Miami. And he is just a bruiser, right? And I think that the team's going to want to hand the ball, especially if Haskins plays. It doesn't matter, really. Whoever plays, they want to protect at the quarterback position. Unless it's like Keenum, because Keenum's just... I don't understand how you can play Colt McCoy over Keenum if Keenum's not hurt. That's just a crazy decision to me. To me, I would have played Haskins. But if it's between Colt McCoy and Case Keenum, I think Keenum is light years ahead of Colt McCoy. But anyways, I think Adrian Peterson's on a team that wants to run the ball a lot with the new interim head coach. They have a great matchup to do so. I don't think he's going to be in this 7-carry game. This is New England. They got smoked. I think he'll be more in this, 12 to 15 carries per game range, even more possibly. So Adrian Peterson's a great play, I think, at 4,500. Carlos Hyde at 4,400 is all right. Ito Smith has been getting some work. Rashad Penny. Yeah, let's just pay up for running backs this week, guys. Let's pay up for Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson. If this was 2016, you guys just won the week. Yeah, maybe not with Austin Hooper, but you guys just won the week with Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson. That's how we would start it. So let's go over to wide receivers. We got Julio in a good matchup at Arizona for 8K. Michael Thomas, who we love this week. Why was he at 6,600? It's pretty much how I feel about Le'Veon Bell this week. Why is he at 6,400? But he just went off. 13 targets, 11 catches, 182 yards, and 2 touchdowns for 44 points. Love to see it. Nuke Hopkins. This is probably a very, very tempting play. Yes, he's been really bad, but it doesn't matter. He's still the best receiver in the league. This matchup is going to be one where he's very needed. Yeah, Casey's definitely improved on the defensive side of the football, but it's Nuke. Play him at 7,400 if you can fit him. I'm going to be trying to fit him if I can. We'll see. Cooper Kupp, you can't say he's like not a top 3 fantasy receiver this season. 26 points average so far this year. 17 targets. Look at the last 3 weeks. 17 targets, 15 targets, 12 targets. And look at the last 4 weeks in yardage. 117, 121, 101, 120. 4 touchdowns. He's averaging like 110 yards and a touchdown a game in the last 4 games. He's at home. They might be down Brandon Cooks. At 7,100, that's super reasonable. Unless we get like Robert Woods at like 5,400, that's pretty simple to me. Amari Cooper just balled out, which kind of sucked. We were not on very high on Amari Cooper this week because I'm such a huge Jair Alexander fan, but he had a really good game against Jair. Caught 11 of 14 targets for a career high, 226 and a touchdown, 42 points for Amari. I'm not a huge Amari guy in cash. You guys can play him if you need to. Tyreek Hill should be back. And at 6,900, this is something that I'm very interested in against the Houston secondary. We'll talk about that later in the week because I don't want to talk about him too much right now because we don't know if he's going to play or not. OBJ at 68, Thielen at 67. So it's very important that we take a hard look at Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs. Thielen is out targeting Diggs, I think 30 to 24 on the season. I'm not going to add those up, but let's just say it's 30. 30 to 24 on the season, and he's coming off the big game. 7 for 130 and 2 touchdowns. Diggs was pretty quiet. Diggs had 3 catches on 4 targets for 44 yards. So Diggs has definitely been the worst option, but at 5,900, you get an $800 discount, and I think he's just way too talented of a player to be at 5,900 ever. But if I had to play one, I think I'm playing Thielen for sure. I think this is a good week to get him in there at 6,700 in a great matchup. Let's just try to go through these a little bit quicker. Tyler Lockett, if those corners aren't playing, just get him in the lineup. He's a beast. Boyd coming off a monster game, 125 yards, I think, on 10 catches and a long touchdown. All right, we don't want to do Tyler Boyd. Cool. 14 targets, too. 123 yards, 31 points. Another good match. It's all right. It's an all right matchup because their safety just tore their ACL. So maybe he gets a little bit, easier, softer coverage in the middle of the field. Hollywood, Watkins, Larry Fitzgerald. That's a good one, Larry Fitzgerald. Will Fuller all the way up to 6K now after that big week. Terry McLaurin, Demarcus Robinson, Stephon Diggs, Alshon. Ridley, wow, Woods at 5,600. Yeah, we're going to have to just plug in Robert Woods. That's pretty simple right there. DJ Chark at 5,500 has just been absolutely balling. 18, 17, 8, 39, 27. Like, great season so far. I don't really care if he has Marshawn Lattimore on him. I don't care if he has PJ Williams on him. 5,500, I'm going to probably get Chark into a lot of cash game lineups. We'll see what else we have a little bit lower. Mecole, Dede, Cortland Sutton, my boy Cortland Sutton. What did he end up with more than just that 82? 4 of 7 targets for 92 and touchdown. Been great this season. Tennessee, pretty tough matchup. DK, same thing as Lockett. We have to monitor those 2 corners for Cleveland. Anything like super value down here, guys, or what? I don't see anything right off the bat. Keyshawn, Dante Pettis. I think Dante Pettis is going to have a big night tonight. And I think that he's going to be pretty highly owned next week. I just have a weird feeling about that. Or Debo. Where's Debo? I think he's a little bit more expensive. At 4,300. So what happens if I plug in Debo and I plug in, what do we want to plug in? Chark? And then we can get up to anything for the last one. Let's get up to Kamara and see what we can turn Chark into for 6,400. We can turn to Lockett. I wish we could get up to Thielen. Cool. Let's turn into Lockett. So basically, we have Kirk Cousins at home against a really bad secondary in Philadelphia. We have Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson, the 2016 superstar team. We got Robert Woods, Deebo Samuel, Tyler Lockett, locking in pretty solid wide receivers for a lineup like this, where I can get Lev Bell, David Johnson, Alvin Kamara. Austin Hooper in the flowchart game against Arizona. Jets at 1,500, which is a new, you got to experience the new $1,500 defense, right? And that is my cash game lineup for this week, guys. I appreciate you guys sticking around for the whole first look. If you stuck around this long, please go ahead and like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And I'll see you in the next one.